Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is MB12 for Wednesday, September 19th, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, the North Abaco by-election campaign kicks into high gear as the Prime Minister visits the constituency. Former parliamentarian and Attorney General Paul Adderley passes away. The Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists gives its take on the upcoming gambling referendum, and the Bahamas lands on the United States list of major drug trafficking countries once again. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your MB12 starts right now. Joining us. With October 15th set as the date for the North Abaco by-election, both major political parties intensified their campaigns today. The candidates in the race braved the sweltering September heat as they took their messages to even more constituents. Our news team was in Abaco. Here's Candia Dames.
Both the PLP and the FNM would view North Abaco as an important victory. So Prime Minister Christie returned here today for the first time since his party's candidate Renato Curry made a strong showing in the May 7th general election. Meanwhile, Dr. Hubert Minnis has taken up residence here. Both men looking forward to good results. Christie started his visit to Abaco by touring a $28 million government complex in Marsh Harbor. He confessed he was impressed with the structure and said he wants to hold a cabinet meeting there sometime during the campaign. The Prime Minister also recognized the good former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram has done in Abaco and said North Abaco will be taken care of whether or not it is a PLP seat.
He has obviously done well for his constituency, as we can see, but his time is up. It is a new day, and it is that new day that we are heralding, and it's a new day where Abaco will have the opportunity to be a part of what we're doing in a meaningful way. Now, let me just assure and reassure everyone, whatever Abaco does, right, the Progressive Liberal Party will be the government, and the Progressive Liberal Party has as its obligation to govern effectively and properly for all the people of the Bahamas. But this special opportunity they're going to have in North Abaco to have one of their native sons, okay, come in 4 weeks from today, come into government, into the House of Assembly, and herald, say, listen, this is a new beginning. The king is dead, long live the king.
We asked the PLP's candidate whether he has an edge over FNM candidate Greg Gomez, given that he has been on the ground longer.
You know, the difference between me and my opponent is, he haven't spent enough time home to actually know the concerns. So, you want to make sure carry out the agenda of the people. It's all about the people, and that's what I'm about. I'm about the people.
The FNM's campaign team also spent the day on the ground in North Abaco fighting to hold on to the North Abaco seat that has been won 8 consecutive times by former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram. He won it twice as a PLP, once as an independent, and 5 times as an FNM. Minnis has been campaigning in Abaco for weeks now. We asked him why this victory would be important to the FNM.
This would be the catalyst moving forward. The Free National Movement, we suffered a defeat, and we know that we will be back in government 2017. We realize what may have gone wrong, some of our mistakes, etc. And we'd use this victory as a catalyst so that we would continue to work straight through to 2017. And after we win the government in 2017, we would continue to work to take the Bahamas even further than where it is today.
The FNM's candidate initially faced a challenge relating to his residency, but that's all been sorted out now. We asked him whether that was a setback.
That actually worked for me because now all the residents know who I am. Mr. Curry, on the other hand, he has been in this campaign for over a year, but in late, I have been on the ground more than him. I've been door to door to every house in my constituency. I've been on the radio programs numerous times. So I'm out there, out front. I'm having social, I'm having events, and the people are showing up.
Back in May, Ingram won the North Abaco seat by just under 400 votes. Now, nomination day is next Wednesday, and both parties plan to heighten their campaigns further on the weekend and in the 3 weeks leading to the highly anticipated election. From North Abaco, for NB12, I'm Candia Dames.
Paul Adderley, a legend in the Progressive Liberal Party, has died. 3 days after he was admitted to the intensive care unit, the former Attorney General, acting Governor General, and longtime politician slipped away peacefully this morning with his loved ones by his side. Tonight, Nakia DeVoe has reaction from those who knew him well.
A politician, attorney, sportsman, mentor, and dear friend. The late Paul Adderley was remembered as all those and much more today by past and present members of the Progressive Liberal Party.
And I never felt any sense of privilege or anything like that. I wasn't any different from anybody else as far as I was concerned, from my point of view. Yeah. From a child or a young person's point of view. That, the implications of this don't strike you until later on, when people regard you as, you realize other people are doing this to you. As you say, the silver spoon in your mouth, privilege that other people didn't have and so on. And I didn't feel that as such.
Prime Minister Christie expressing deep sadness at the passing of Adderley, a man he considered a dear friend and confidant. In a statement today, the Prime Minister described Adderley as the very embodiment of personal integrity, absolutely incorruptible, and a public servant of the highest order. Adderley was the longest-serving Attorney General of the 20th century, holding that post for 17 years. Also on his list of achievements, acting Governor General, National Security Minister, Minister of Education, Minister of Finance, and Foreign Affairs Minister. Christie said Adderley was the primary architect of the nation's foreign policy in the founding years of nationhood. Current Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell spoke fondly of the man he said was an inspiration to him and many others.
This was a man who fiercely believed in the Bahamas and defended our interests across the globe, and at the United Nations, in the United States, in the Antipodes, in Europe. He was a fierce Bahamian patriot. And so, without question, we've lost a great son. And he fiercely believed in this country. He would not accept a knighthood, for example, would not accept the QC, because he believed all of those were colonial honors, and that the things he wanted was an honor from the Bahamas, which he got as a result of having served in the cabinet for 10 years. He was named honorable for life by Prime Minister Pinley.
On a personal level, Mitchell says he will remember Adderley most for his quick wit and sense of humor. Now, according to the Prime Minister, Adderley was a courageous warrior against drug trafficking, responsible for several anti-drug trafficking measures during his time as National Security Minister. Dr. Bernard Nottage, current Minister of National Security, said Adderley was more than just an attorney and politician, but a great role model for Bahamian men.
Mr. Adderley really is one of the most outstanding Bahamians, certainly of his time. Mr. Adderley, I've known him from as a little child, and he has been a very knowledgeable, passionate nationalist of the highest order. Someone who sort of became a kind of model for young men in the 60s and 70s who aspired to getting a higher education and to getting involved in aspects of community life.
Former Governor General Arthur D. Hanna said Adderley's greatest contribution to the nation was the role he played in bringing the nation to independence. He says he knew Adderley since they were boys, and he will remember Adderley most for his honesty. Hanna says all Bahamians should be grateful for his service to the country, and he doesn't think the Bahamas will see another man like Paul Adderley. Adderley left behind his wife Lilith and their 3 daughters. He was 84 years old. Funeral arrangements will be announced by the Cabinet Office in the coming days. Reporting for NB12, I'm Nakia DeVoe.
While members of the Free National Movement also offering their condolences, F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says the party, its officers, members, and supporters are saddened by Adderley's passing. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham added his voice to the chorus, noting Adderley's steadfastness in the 1980s, which he described as a time of turmoil for many Bahamians who were confronted by the threats from the illicit international drug trade and the vigorous demands of the United States government in response to drug trafficking. Ingraham says he will never forget how Adderley supported and encouraged him during that period. Ingraham says even though they eventually followed different political paths, his respect for the integrity which typified Adderley's public life and his commitment to preserving Bahamian democracy remains. Well, the Prime Minister has promised that sometime after the North Abaco by-election is out of the way and before the end of this year, there will be a referendum on gambling in the Bahamas. While in Abaco, Prime Minister Christie told reporters he met this morning with those consultants from the United Kingdom whom the government has engaged to advise the Ministry of Finance on how a national lottery would be best structured in the Bahamas. According to the Prime Minister, the consultants have been in town for a few days now and have held meetings with him and others. Christie said more details about how the government would structure a national lottery or legalize web shops would be made public in the lead up to the referendum. Today, he said the government wants to ensure that there is no conflict between what is being done in casinos and what's happening on the outside with web shops. According to Christie, what the consultancy has demonstrated so far is that the Bahamas has to be very particular in ensuring Bahamians who are going to vote understand clearly what they're voting for or not voting for. Well, the president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church believes it's unnecessary for the government to spend money to bring in gambling consultants on a referendum about an issue that can be decided without a popular vote. Vonique Toot reports.
Hours after Prime Minister Perry Christie met with consultants, Seventh-day Adventist pastor Dr. Leonard Johnson discussed the issue of gambling during the Advanced Toastmasters Club's monthly meeting. He questioned the need for government officials to hold such discussions.
I said I don't think it's necessary because the government possesses the power. If they want to decriminalize numbers, they possess the power. The government has the numbers. Now, I'm not advocating that they do that. Please understand.
Mr. Christie told NB12 today that consultants from the United Kingdom have been in the Bahamas for a few days now to get an idea of how numbers houses operate in the Bahamas and to advise the government on how a national lottery should be structured. Though he does not see the point in paying consultants to do that, Johnson says he feels the Prime Minister is trying to fulfill his party's campaign promise to hold a gambling referendum.
One can argue it is necessary, and another can argue it's not necessary. But of course, the Prime Minister has already indicated that based on this issue that came up during his campaigning, that he wants to put it to the Bahamian people so that they will decide.
Dr. Johnson, who heads the Atlantic Caribbean Union of Seventh-day Adventists, made his views on gambling in the Bahamas quite clear in July during independence celebrations on Clifford Park. At the time, he advised Bahamians to rely on hard work and integrity to get them through tough times, instead of the proceeds of gambling. He told members of the Advanced Toastmasters Club today that many Bahamians play numbers, but few of them actually win. We Care, which is a coalition of web shop owners, has said it plans to spend $1.5 million on its campaign in the lead-up to the gambling referendum. While he could not speak for the Bahamas Christian Council, Dr. Johnson says the Seventh-day Adventist Church does not plan to outspend We Care.
It is our intention to continue to educate our people through forums like this, as I've been invited to share with you. AT53, that's channel 53 that comes on cable. That's another means. There is an ad in the newspaper, your paper, the Nassau Guardian. These are some of the means. But in terms of spending money to try to match the We Care coalition, no.
Dr. Johnson says his aim is not to dictate to the government or Bahamians, but simply to educate them on the dangers of gambling. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.